remaining in the opening quarter. Eskimos lead it 3-0. Yes, Al?
I was just going to say, alluding to Frank's comment about the slippery field, the coaches we talked to prior to the game, Eskimo coaches were quite disappointed. They took the tarp off around 10 o'clock this morning, but there was so much condensation that snow fell on the field, and they had hope, the coaches that is, for a perfect field, but they certainly didn't get that.
First down, Edmonton. Ball at their own 36. Warren Moon looking, finally finds Brian Pryor open across the 40 to about the 43-yard line. Gain of 6 or 7 yards. Wiley Turner and Aaron Brown there to make the stop on Pryor. Second down coming up.
Excellent job by the Eskimos of keeping Tony Norman out of there, number 55, big right defensive end of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Pryor made a pretty good catch considering the conditions, turning around and picking up that 7-yard gain.
Temperature at game time, minus 18 Celsius. Very little wind, thankfully. Moon goes to Waddell Smith. First down, Eskimos, 52-yard line. Little look in to the wide receiver and a gain of 9 yards.
Tommy Scott going down and breaking out to the outside along with Jim Germany. Waddell Smith just coming down underneath them. An excellent throw by Moon. He looked like it was the middle of July. Somehow has to keep those hands warm.
6-year veteran out of Kansas, picking up the first down for the Eskimos. Moon with all kinds of time, got away from the initial rush and unloaded way over the head of Waddell Smith. He did a good job just being able to throw that football.
That was big defensive right end Tony Norman, number 55, putting the initial pressure on Moon.
Both clubs finished the regular season with 11 wins and 5 losses. As you look at that last play again, big rush from Tony Norman that Moon just got away from. As you see, he lost all control on the football as he threw it, second down and 10. The Eskimos closed out the regular season with 8 straight victories and edge out the Bombers for first place. Second and 10, big rush from Caton. Ball is loose. Looks like Het Pache is on top of it. They rule the play dead back at the 40-yard line. Tremendous rush from the man we talked about at the top of the show, Pete Caton, number 53.
I'll tell you, Caton beats Big Bill Stevenson, number 62, and he just beats him with strict speed. Going around to the outside, taking the long way around, as they say, but with that great effort, sacks Warren Moon. That ball looked like it was stripped prior to Moon hitting the turf. However, it was called a dead ball, so it'll be third down, the Eskimos to kick it away. There's another look at Caton, number 53. Leo Ezrin, 72, the outside linebacker, also coming on the play.
Ilisic to punt with 5.5 minutes to go in the opening quarter. Not a very good kick this time by Ilisic, off the side of his foot. Nate Johnson finally picks it up. Penalty flag is thrown. A couple of them now go down. Johnson has stopped near the 45-yard line and looked like the Eskimos were inside the 5 yards. A 33-yard punt and return is 7. 3-0. Eskimos leading the Bombers. We'll be back in just a moment.
Dear Mr. Mister.
But the real genius of this Betamax is its price.
The genius of Betamax, only from Sony.
Grey Cup 1982 in Toronto, and the Argonauts clinched a berth there earlier today with their big victory over Ottawa. Frank, so we're in for an exciting time in Toronto.
Hopetown will be wild.
And of course, all the action will be on CTV, and of course, the replay of that surprisingly exciting Grey Cup of 1981 will be replayed next weekend as part of CTV's Grey Cup festivities. Check your local listings for that replay of last year's Grey Cup, which of course came right down to a final field goal by Dave Cutler before the Eskimos won it. And right now, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have the ball first down at their own 30-yard line following a holding penalty against Winnipeg on that punt return. So it cost the Bombers some field position. 5:15 remaining in the opening quarter. Eskimos in front on a Cutler field goal. Sprint draw to William Miller, picks his way through that line. out to the 40-yard line. He'll be very close to a first down. The biggest gain in the afternoon for the Blue Bombers.
Winnipeg yet to pick up a first down in this ball game with 3 possessions. William Miller comes very close to picking up that initial first down, and we'll have to measure. As you see Ray Yock talking to Dieter Brock out on the sideline, trying to give him a little help. Brings his veteran quarterback over to the sideline to discuss the situation with him. It will be just short of a first down for Winnipeg.
Ray Yock, Hugh Campbell, head coaches when they were with Edmonton, when Ray was in Edmonton. Together, they've taken the Eskimos to the playoffs 12 of the last 13 years, into first place in the West 9 of the last 10 years, into the Grey Cup 8 of the last 9 years. And you combine the two of them together as coaches of the Eskimos. Second and short yardage. William Miller has the football up. Tackle. He pops it through for a gain of 7 yards. Right across the 45-yard line. First down, Winnipeg. Boy, that'll certainly help Winnipeg if they can spring William Miller now and then this afternoon. Leading rusher in the Western Division.
See a good surge by the offensive line of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Miller easily picking up the first down for Winnipeg today.
First and 10 from the 47-yard line. The Bombers with the football. Brock can't find anybody open. Now he just dumps it off, looking for the newcomer James Murphy on the far side, working against Larry Highbaugh. And the pass was not well thrown. Dieter was off balance when he got rid of it. He's not going to get a lot of time to stand back there and look for a secondary receiver.
Dieter once again trying to look to the Winnipeg right side, going against Joe Holloman, the left cornerback of the Eskimos. Holloman did an excellent job defensively. Dieter had to throw it away.
Second and 10. Looking for Murphy. Going too far. Penalty flag now goes down in the offensive backfield. James Parker helps Dieter Brock back to his feet. It may have been a late hit. That's what it is, roughing call against the Eskimos.
James Parker, as you can see, the guilty party for the Eskimos, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers keep their drive alive with that penalty.
Major foul. Edmonton number 40, roughing the passer. First down.
Rick House, the Canadian Player of the Year in the Western Division of the CFL. A little bit upset with Gary Hayes. Not a big factor as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers move into the Eskimo half of the field for the first time this afternoon.
3:45 remaining in the opening quarter. Bombers first down. Dieter slips just a little bit. Finds Murphy wide open. Murphy is inside the 15-yard line. James Murphy, who caught 4 last week against Calgary, comes up with a 30-yard gain.
I'll tell you what, Dieter got a lot of time to throw this football, and it didn't look like the weather was bothering him at all. The ball was slightly underthrown, but Murphy made a good adjustment, turning to the back, picks up the first down inside the 15-yard line of the Eskimos.
Murphy out of Utah State. 3 first downs now for the Bombers. 1 rushing, 1 passing, and 1 by penalty. Threatening now from the Eskimo 14-yard line. Wide open is Rick House. Touchdown, Winnipeg. Rick House was all by himself. 18-yard score. The Bombers go in front.
Dale, there just had to be some confusion in that defensive backfield of the Eskimos. Absolutely nobody near House. Look at Mike McLeod came over there far too late to stop the Canadian Player of the Year, Western Division, Rick House, from scoring the first major of this ball game.
That's the second touchdown in playoff activity for House. You see the conversion by Trevor Kennard. And now the Bombers lead the Eskimos 7-3 with 2:58 remaining in the first quarter. Rick House scored 8 touchdowns during the regular season. And, of course, as Frank mentioned, he's the Western Division nominee as the outstanding Canadian player in the Shenley voting, up against Rocky DiPietro of Hamilton in that category. graduate of Simon Fraser. Here it is again.
Bit of a pick play, actually, on the Edmonton defensive backs, but House wide open, scoring the first major of this ball game.
80-yard drive by the Bombers for the major score. They lead it now, and Kennard will kick off. And that was the first time in this opening quarter that the Bombers were able to move the ball at all.
Helped a great deal by a late hit by James Parker on Dieter Brock to keep the drive alive.
Short kickoff. Kehoe slipped and went down. The ball is picked up by Gary Hayes, number 28, forced out of bounds at about the 23-yard line. Konahowski was over there along with Scott Flagel, number 14. Rookie defensive back for the Bombers. 43-yard kickoff and a return of 11. So the Eskimos will start in the shadows with their worst field position of the afternoon.
Ray Yock talked before the ball game about having the sun a little longer than the Edmonton Eskimos. They do have that on the Winnipeg side, but honestly, I don't think it's that much warmer.
I don't think it's a factor at all. Doesn't make any difference. First down, Edmonton from their 23. They now trail by 4. Play action fake to Germany, going for Fryer, who's in behind the coverage and has a big gain for the Eskimos. Fryer forced out of bounds at the Winnipeg 50-yard line. So the Eskimos come right back with a big play of 38 yards. Moon to Brian Fryer.
I'll tell you, the way that both of these quarterbacks are throwing this football, you wouldn't think weather is a factor at all. It is 19 below Celsius. I don't even know what that means on the old bases. There's something like cold. Very cold. Something cold. Less than 0.
Plays like that will keep this crowd warmed up. In the neighborhood of 50,000 here today. Eskimos go 1st and 10 from the Winnipeg 50. Bone fumbled the ball, and there to recover it for the Eskimos is Neil Lumsden. Tony Norman wrapped up Moon. The ball popped loose, but Lumsden got back to recover it at the Eskimo 50, a loss of 10.
Just a great effort by Norman, number 55, the right defensive end. Take a look at it once again. He wraps up Moon all the way back to the 50-yard line of the Eskimos. He was down at one point in time, just got up and made a great effort. Neil Lumsden was the blocker for the Eskimos that Norman beat.
Second down and 20. Edmonton now back at their own 50. Minute and a half to go in the opening quarter. Germany on the draw, and he is nailed by Leo Ezrin, number 72, the outside linebacker. A gain of about 2 or 3 yards, and Hank Olesic will be in to punt once more. Ezrin, who played most of the year as the middle linebacker for the Bombers, moved outside when they inserted Aaron Brown into the lineup. Done an excellent job for the Bombers this year. 4-year veteran out of Whitworth.
A very heavily favored Edmonton Eskimos here this afternoon are getting out-hit so far in this ball game.
Bennett waits for the punt by Olesic at the 15-yard line. Penalty flag goes down. Bennett out across the 30. Stopped at about the 33-yard line, but a penalty marker was thrown on the return. A kick of 42 yards, a return of 18 as it now stands. Referee Bud Ulrich with the call.
Vernon Fall, number 54, blocking.
Illegal block, Winnipeg, number 54. First down.
Right you are. Well, that moves the ball back deep into Winnipeg territory.
How's that?
Take off on a very popular book title of these days. 10-yard line for the Bombers, 1st and 10 with 56 seconds to go in this first quarter. Almost the entire field now in shadows. Crowd urging the Edmonton defense on now. Bombers drove 80 yards to the major last time they had it. Here's William Miller out near a first down at the 19-yard line.
That's the second time that they've run that sprint draw with William Miller, the only back there, and it looks so obvious. However, it's been very successful on the 2 occasions the Bombers have run it.
Dan Huckluck with an excellent block on James Parker on that last play to spring Miller out of there for at least a 9, maybe close to 10-yard gain. They're going to measure it.
Trying to run all of motion to the left side and run up inside of James Parker, number 40. Take a look at Parker.
Huckluck just sealed him off.
All that motion had Parker taking his momentum to the outside. They pick up about 9.5 yards. So Winnipeg very close to starting another drive. 2 times they've run the same play, and 2 times they've gained 9.5 yards.
Second down, short yardage for Winnipeg. Near their own 20. Brock Keats gets it across the 20-yard line. He has more than enough for a first down. We have time for one more play here in the opening quarter. With the Bombers in front by 4. Rick House with the major for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Converted by Kennard. Cutler has the field goal for Edmonton. This will be the last play in this first quarter. Again, a Trent draw to William Miller. This time the Eskimos are there. Tom Town tracks down William Miller at about the line of scrimmage. So the first quarter comes to an end here in Edmonton with the Bombers leading the Eskimos 7-3 in a cold afternoon. And we'll return with the second quarter in just a moment.
Great game.
Toronto Argonauts have already qualified for next Sunday's Grey Cup game, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers right now lead the Edmonton Eskimos in this one 7-3 as we get set to start the second quarter. The Bombers second down and about 9.5 yards to go from their own 23-yard line. Brock with good protection this time finds Nate Johnson open down the middle. First down at the 50-yard line. Johnson picks up 27 yards.
Pretty obvious to all 50,000 fans here that the Eskimos coming with a blitz. Dan Kepley, number 42, middle linebacker. Winnipeg does an excellent job of picking it up and giving Dieter time to throw that football. Johnson moves it all the way out to the 50-yard line for Winnipeg. They lead this ball game 7-3. We're just into the second quarter.
Bombers established something last time they had the ball. They drove 80 yards for the major score. Now they've moved it out to the 50 from their own 10-yard line. Penalty marker goes down. Brock is down. David Boone with the sack. Brock pumped once and didn't get a chance to unload after that. Outside, the indication against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the first play, so Eskimos will take the sack. It'll be second down and about 16 yards to go.
David Boone, number 64, making the initial contact, but see who's also in there. James Parker, once again, number 40.
Side, declined, second down.
Ball back on the Winnipeg 45-yard line as you look at the first quarter statistics. Winnipeg with the edge there basically on that one big drive. Drop play to William Miller. Dave Fennell trips him up. Number 65 gets the tackle on William Miller, holds the gain to about 3.5 yards. So it's third down, and that'll bring in Bob Cameron to punt again. Early in the second quarter, Bombers in front 7-3. And if you're not in Toronto for the Grey Cup game, then you won't want to miss Toronto Grey Cup 82 right here on CTV next Sunday morning, starting at 11:30 Eastern Time. And we'll have the most extensive coverage of the Grey Cup festivities. Look forward to the week in Toronto. Here's Cameron's punt. Gary Hayes. Nate Johnson, a couple of speedsters meet at about the 32-yard line. And the Eskimos will take over first and 10. 14-yard return by Gary Hayes, the leading punt returner in the season for the Eskimos.
You know, Dale, it's amazing how well the players are actually functioning because the cold is seeping into them. I noticed the Eskimo players huddling around their heaters, but those electric heaters aren't giving all that much heat. It's very, very cold.
First down, Edmonton from their own 32. Jim Germany right into the middle of that line. Has a gain of close to 3 yards out to the 35. Bomber defense stacks it up in a hurry. Doug McIver and John Helton both in on the tackle.
A good example of a trap block. Heck Portier, number 63, pulling to his right, trying to trap the left defensive end, Pete Caton, on the play. Gain is limited to about 3 yards for the Eskimos. A very important return. Jim Germany, Brian Kelly, about halfway through the year for the Eskimos, turned everything around for them. 8 in a row to finish 1982.
Second down and 7. Tom Scott with his first catch of the afternoon. And it's a first down for Edmonton out at the 49-yard line. Aaron Brown making the tackle, number 52.
Neil, you were telling me you had a conversation with Tommy Scott yesterday. He does something very special to motivate himself for football games.
Well, he has a home video recorder and a playback unit, which, of course, he can watch motivational-type movies the night before a game, and he chose Chariots of Fire for this one. First down, Eskimos. Lone looking for Pryor, who's open deep. And he got onto that catcher's part of the field and went down at about the 31-yard line. Footing near the 35-yard line is extremely bad out here today, and is very noticeable on that play. After Pryor makes the catch, it's a gain of 31. Could have been more.
Just absolutely outran the linebacker, Leo Ezrins, number 72, on the play. The Eskimos threatening for the first time since very early in the first quarter of this ball game.
Ryan Pryor's had a couple of big gainers here this afternoon for the Eskimos, giving them a first down at the Winnipeg 31. Offense is really opening up now. Tom Scott. I'll make that Brian Pryor.
The Eskimos, I think, Dale, are going to be called for holding. It looked like Neil Lumsden, number 32, coming out of that backfield, was holding Tony Norman. It's Lumsden right there. Here's Tony Norman, number 55. Let's take a look at it. I think he just pulled him right down, and I believe that would be the call. It is. The Eskimos guilty of holding.
Penalty sets them back. The first down over again now from the 41-yard line. Penalty totals in 1982, the regular season. Quite a difference there in total yardage, over 300 yards. That's a lot of field position. First and 20 for the Eskimos. Big blitz up the middle. Lone had to unload, nobody there. Leo Ezrins just came up through untouched right up the middle. Second down and 20.
Ezrins claiming that Warren Moon just threw the football away, which of course he did.
I think he got away with one that time.
Did a good job of getting rid of it.
Nearest Eskimo was an eligible receiver, an interior lineman.
I'll tell you, we look down into this crowd immediately below us here at Commonwealth Stadium, and there is a few people shivering. There's going to be a lot of coffee drunk out there.
I think so. Second down and long facing the Eskimos. Big rush from Helton, and he gets to Warren Moon way back at the 53-yard line. So the Bombers do a superb job of pushing the Eskimos back, and that means the Eskimos will punt rather than go for a field goal.
What a great move by the 14-year veteran John Helton, number 99.
Watch him go right by Leo Blanchard.
Pete Caton also putting good pressure on there, working against Bill Stevenson, number 62, but it was John Helton who got to Warren Moon all the way back to the 52-yard line.
Pushing them out of field goal range, so Olesic will punt. Waiting for it is Johnson at the 8-yard line. Johnson finds the sideline. Needs a couple of blocks. Johnson brings it out across the 45 to about the 47-yard line.
What a turnover this was. The Edmonton Eskimos had a first down at the Winnipeg 32-yard line. All of a sudden, a penalty, a sack, a great punt return, and Winnipeg has got the ball all the way out to their own 47-yard line.
Well, the score is 7-3 Winnipeg. We'll be back to Commonwealth Stadium in just a moment. First down, Winnipeg Blue Bombers near their own 47-yard line following an excellent punt return by Nate Johnson. Bucklock goes in motion. William Miller gets back, not even to the line of scrimmage. Cut from behind by David Boone, number 64.
What a great job by Tommy Towns, number 20. Linebacker on the weak side here. Watch him as he stacks up the Winnipeg Blue Bombers right at the line of scrimmage. Another Eskimo was hurt early in the season. Tommy Towns, a pinched nerve that kept him out of 5 football games.
Second down and 11 for Winnipeg. Dan Huckluck on the receiving end of Dieter Brock's pass. Got to the sidelines and moved it into Eskimo territory to the 53. It'll be very close to a first down. Huckluck swinging out of that backfield and getting open in behind the 2 receivers who had cleared the zone. And we're going to need a measurement on this one.
.8:48 remaining in the first half. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers leading the Eskimos 7-3. Touchdown strike from Dieter Brock to Rick House being the only major scored by either ball club so far today.
Brock has now completed 4 passes in a row. The measurement right in front of the Eskimo bench. It is first down. Yardage gain by Dan Huckluck. They're now into Edmonton territory. And the Bombers, who were unable to do anything in their first 3 possessions, last couple of times they've had the ball have been effective. They had an 80-yard drive for a major score late in the first quarter.